Okay, this first question. Yesterday, what I did was I gave you a point and I gave you a slope, and we wrote the equation, and it was pretty easy, right? So what are we missing today that we had yesterday? So it says, write the equation of a line that passes through these 2 points. So you have 2 points, but you're missing the slope. So your first job in this problem is to find the slope. Now I put the slope formula at the top here for us if you don't remember it, but I asked you to go ahead and try to find the slope on your own, but if you haven't, let's do it together. So slope is, this is x1, y1, this is x2, y2. So if we're following the formula, my slope looks like this. -6 minus my first y value, which is 4, over, and then I do my x values. 4 minus -2. Right, we've already done slope, so that shouldn't be groundbreaking. We already know how to do that part. This is -10. -10 on the top. This becomes a plus on the bottom, which is 6. And I'm just going to reduce that. Why? Because I should. Why? Because I can. And that's my slope. Then, especially for if you don't remember this from yesterday, or if you were gone yesterday, then we're going to pick one of the 2 points. Which one? Doesn't really matter, right? Is it wrong if I pick this point and the person next to me picks this one? No, there's 2 answers here, right? So I'm going to pick a point. So then it says we found the slope, and then it says pick either of the points. I'm just going to pick the first one. Always the letter y. Right? Then what? Y minus my y coordinate, which is 4, equals slope. Throw your slope in there. -5/3. Parentheses x. And then it's going to be +2. Ta-da! Okay, I'm going to do that again for anybody who was gone yesterday so we can see that process one more time, especially if we didn't get it the first time. But if you want to try one on your own, please do. So I'm going to give you a head start. Do we want to do 8 or do we want to do 9? 8. Okay, so we'll go on to number 8. We're going to do that one together, but I'll give you some time to get ahead of me before I start number 8. First thing we need to do is slope. If you feel like you can do it on your own, go for it. If you were gone yesterday and you want a little bit more instruction, just wait a half minute here. Number 8, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and do the slope here on this one. So I'm going to go m equals, right there, just a second, -7, and then it's going to end up being +8, because it's minus a -8, over -9 minus 5
Do we have to put that in equals?
No. No, I'm just putting it there so we know what I'm doing. Okay, it's good to make sure that someone else can follow your work. So somewhere you should tell yourself m equals 1 over negative 14. Did you get negative 14, 1 over negative 14? Yeah? Is it okay if I had negative 1 over positive 14? Is that okay? Yes. It is not okay if you had negative 1 over negative 14. That doesn't count. Okay, so the downfall of only having one question of each type on a test is if you miss that negative sign, that's minus 0.5, right? Off the top. So you only have one chance to get it right. So make sure you take your time and you put them in the right order and you have the right signs. Okay, last part. I'm going to pick this one. Okay, if you want to go against the grain, totally fine, and pick the second one, but I'm going to pick the first one. So it's going to be y minus the y number of the coordinate that I just picked. Okay, the y number is negative 8, so that makes that plus 8. Throw in your slope, parentheses, the letter x, minus the x number from the point that you picked, which is going to be 5. And there we go. Do we need to do it 2 more times? I don't think so. I think we're good. Okay? So we're going to jump into level 4. Level 4 is exactly what you just did, except you have to come up with the 2 points. Okay? Okay. Phones down. We want to see this last part. I'm going to put a little note up here. Okay? Okay, so if you had kind of taken a little break because you were already done with that question, perfectly fine. But let's get this on our notes. X is always time. Like if there's time in the problem, minutes, hours, days, months, it doesn't matter, years, that number is your X. Whether it comes first in the problem or it comes second in the problem, that's always going to be the X of your coordinate. So you have to pull out the coordinates there. Okay, so when it says an airplane 1 minute after descent is at an altitude of 3,000 feet. Okay, 30,000 feet, thank you. 30,000 feet. 3,000, All right, that's what you'd be doing in the plane if it was at 3,000 feet. 1 minute. Unless it's already super close to the ground.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're trying to land, then maybe
1 minute
So
after
there's
descent.
1 minute after descent. So you're in the air and you start descending. So 1 minute after descent, you're 30,000 feet in the air. That's your first point. Your second point is after 13 minutes. Oh, this is nice and bold even. 13 minutes. You're at 6,000 feet. And we're going to do the same process. The numbers can get big. Yes. The numbers can be decimals. Yes, that's totally fine. So you're just going to go ahead and do the same process that we just did. Okay? Your slope should be negative because you're descending, right? You're going down from the air. So when you're doing the problem, there's cues and keys to help you kind of figure out if your answer makes sense or not. So let's go ahead and do the slope. 6,000 minus 30,000, that's a big number, over 13 minus 1. So we've got negative 24,000. I see that came from 24,000 over 12. Okay, now in the grand scheme of things with the story problem, if you can get the equation, we're not super concerned with making it look perfect and pretty. So if you did not reduce that, it's actually okay. However, it'd be a lot easier for you if you did, because if you take 24,000 and divide it by 12, it's 2,000. That number's a lot smaller and easier to deal with than a fraction. So this is negative 2,000. Okay, and now we pick one. Pick this one or pick this one. It doesn't matter which one you pick. Whichever one looks easier for you, pick that one, right? And here we go, y minus. If I stick to my always picking the first one, that would be y minus 30,000 equals negative 2,000 parentheses x minus 1. Okay. Yesterday we had kind of talked about why we use certain equations. This equation is quick to write, but it's a lot uglier in the end. Okay, so this equation doesn't look nice, doesn't look pretty, and that's just what it's going to look like. Okay, so in the end, y equals mx plus b looks a lot nicer, and it's also a lot easier to understand what the things mean, but this is quicker. Okay, so why do we do this formula versus the other formula? They each have their own positives and negatives. Okay, let's go to this next one. Okay, most of the problems that you're going to come across are going to have some element of time. So the only other thing I want to practice, I don't want to do 100 problems of this because you've got your own to practice, but I just want to practice putting the coordinates together in a set of points. So we've got the number of times a student looks at a cell phone in a class period. Oh, that's not what that says? Just checking. What question are we talking about? Oh, we're talking about crickets. Okay. Biologists have found that the number of chirps some crickets make per minute is related to temperature. When crickets chirp 124 times a minute, it's about 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Neither one of those is time. So which one's X and which one's Y? Okay. Here's the thing. Which one depends on the other one and which one doesn't care? Time doesn't care if you're looking at TikTok and doing a math problem. The clock is going to keep going. The clock has nothing to do with you. It's independent of what you're doing. What part of this is independent of the crickets? The temperature. The temperature is the temperature is the temperature. It doesn't matter if I'm a cricket and I chirp 100 times, the temperature is not going to change. Right? The number of chirps depends on the temperature. So temperature and time are things that don't care what you're doing. They're going to be what they are. Okay? They're independent. They are on their own. So temperature is another one. Unless it's talking about temperature over time. Okay? Then the temperature does depend on the time of day. So time trumps temperature in X, but in this case, the temperature is 68 degrees regardless of how many times the crickets are going to chirp. Okay? If I am a cricket and I chirp 100 more times, does that mean the temperature is going to go up? No. Cricket can't make the temperature change. Okay? So the 68 degrees, 68 degrees is going to be our X, and then the 124 times that it chirps is going to be the Y. Okay, when they chirp 172 times in a minute, it is 80 degrees Fahrenheit. It was 80 degrees, and it is 172 chirps per minute. So we just want to talk about how you get them into the coordinates. Once you get them into the coordinates, you know what to do with them. It's just making sure that you know what's X and what's Y. Okay, let's just practice another one. Let's see what else we got here, and then I'll let you go. Let's see what other kind of X's and Y's we have. Okay, for number 13, it says a climber on a hike after 3 hours. That one has time, so your time is going to be your X. That's a clear-cut one. Time is X. Okay, this one right here, suppose a 5-minute overseas call costs this much money. You guys don't quite understand that because you don't have to pay for your minutes on your cell phone. Like back in the day, if you talked on the phone for 2 minutes, it costs you so much money. Or if you talked on the phone for 20 minutes, it costs you so much money. It's per minute. But overseas calls still do cost you money. if you're calling international.